Howie Roseman and the Eagles aren't done making moves, as the Birds GM just pretty much confirmed that Philly still has plenty more to do in terms of adding to the roster this offseason, and what comes next could be pretty crazy. Speaking of which, we got some more updates on the whole Dallas Goedert situation, as a trade is looking more and more likely, while we also got some big news on the tush push and whether it's going to be banned or not, along with multiple other NFL rule changes. Plus, why is Nick Sirianni super excited about one of the Birds' most underrated new additions? Well, we're going to talk about that and all the other latest news starting right now. Today was expected to be a big day for the Philadelphia Eagles, as after over a month of speculation, the decision on a potential tush push or brotherly shove ban was apparently finally set to be made. And trust me, we're going to get into that a bit later, but before we do that, we got a couple other things to talk about. First, with the NFL making a rule change yesterday to allow teams to wear their alternate throwback jerseys up to 4 times per season, which is up from the previous number of games being just 2. And this is big news for the Eagles and Eagles fans because it now means that the Birds have the option to wear their fan favorite Kelly Green jerseys up to 4 times in a season. So that's pretty awesome. I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say that just about all of us love the Kelly Green, so I'm all for the Eagles wearing it more. That said, I also love the Midnight Greens too and think that should definitely still be the main color. Plus, I don't want the black jerseys to just go away because I think those are pretty sick too. So the Eagles got to find a healthy balance with all these different jersey options. But again, overall, I'm definitely a fan of this rule change to allow the Eagles to wear Kelly Green even more often. What I'm not a fan of, though, is the massive news that just dropped for the Birds today, and you're not going to like it either. And man, I can't even believe that I'm about to say this, but in the biggest shock of the entire offseason, the Eagles are apparently in trade conversations with the New England Patriots centered around A.J. Brown. And again, I mean, I just don't believe it. Oh, and neither should you, because what's today? April 1st. So April Fools to all you guys out there.
But why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
I probably didn't get any of you to fall for that, but if you did, let me know down in the comments. And also, whether you fell for it or you didn't, make sure you drop a like as well. Let's see if we get to at least 500 likes today. In regards to A.J. Brown, though, who, just to be clear, isn't going anywhere, I think we gotta recognize how lucky we are to have this guy. I mean, I feel like he wasn't appreciated quite as much this past season just because of how amazing Saquon was, but AJ still deserves a ton of credit, as not only is he obviously just one of the best players at his position and in general in the entire league, but he also just has a huge impact on winning and the overall success of the Birds offense. Plus, he's also a phenomenal leader, teammate, he's a selfless guy that's willing to do whatever it takes to help the team win, and he's also an incredibly hard worker. And this offseason specifically, he's been in the lab as usual, with him posting multiple videos to his social media, whether it's this one of him swimming, doing a workout in the pool, or the most recent one that he just posted yesterday.
I want to see what you do when you're tired. Let me see how you push yourself. Come on, man. Get up. Get up again tomorrow. Get up again tomorrow. Get up again tomorrow. The next day.
No one's gonna come to help me. No one's gonna come to help me. It's fucking me against me, period. And so I had to man up. And I said, the first thing I gotta start doing is facing every fucking fear I have.
If you think the price of winning is too high, wait till you get the bill from regret.
Yeah, I mean, even after winning the Super Bowl, the dude is clearly locked in and still hungry for more. So again, we're lucky to have him, and the best part is, AJ's not the only Eagle working hard in the offseason. And another guy who's been in the lab is DeJean, as the 22-year-old star recently got some work in with the NFL's Defensive Player of the Year from this past season in Broncos cornerback Pat Surtain. And I'll say, if Coop can learn or pick up anything from the All-Pro corner, then that's only going to make him even better. So I love that these two are working out together, and look, obviously, off-season workout videos can only tell you so much, but overall, I just love seeing the Eagles, whoever it is, just working hard in the offseason and preparing to hopefully repeat as Super Bowl champions next year. But of course, if the Birds are going to do that, they got a long road ahead of them, and right now, they're still just in the process of building their team here in the offseason, despite the flurry of moves that they've already made. Speaking of which, Howie Roseman got the chance to speak on some of those acquisitions recently, including Azeez Ojulari, who he said that the Eagles have liked since his Georgia days and have familiarity with, so they're excited to get him and think that he can shine at edge rusher following some of the departures there. Plus, Howie also talked about the other new edge rusher in Joshua Uche, who he said they've had their eye on for a long time now and really like his talent, work ethic, and skill set as a pass rusher. Meanwhile, he also talked about Adoree Jackson and said they really like his speed, quickness, and playmaking ability. Plus, Howie also talked about the tight ends they brought in, as he compared Kylan Granson to Trey Burton while praising his speed and athleticism. Meanwhile, he praised Harrison Bryant for his blocking ability. So, it's definitely cool to hear Howie talk about some of these new guys, and I'm definitely excited to see what they can do next season. That said, even with these smaller additions and all the other ones that the Eagles have made, some recent comments from Howie Roseman make it seem like the Birds are not even close to done making moves yet.
We've lost a lot of good people on the field that we got to replace, and the opportunity will be there in the next few weeks to improve our football teams, which I'm excited about.
So that's certainly very notable, and in addition to those comments that he made on Up and Adams, Howie also elaborated even further, with Zach Berman revealing that the Eagles GM also said, quote, "We're incomplete right now, there's no doubt about it. Talent acquisition season has just started, and it goes for a long time, and we continue to try to find any possible ways to upgrade the depth and talent level on our team. Again, it just looks different than maybe it looked last year, when a big focus on that was probably in the free agent market, but being able to re-sign your own players, those are part of what we're trying to do to get out in front of things. Obviously, when you lose good players, you want to replace them, and we'll continue to look at ways." So yeah, again, there you go. The Eagles are clearly just getting started this offseason when it comes to filling out their roster. Now, what that looks like remains to be seen, but I think it's pretty obvious that a huge part of filling out the rest of the roster is going to come through the NFL draft, whether that's to add depth and get developmental guys that can one day be starters, or to get guys that can come in and maybe even compete for starting jobs right away. So again, we'll see how that goes, and I'm going to be covering all that here on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. But looking beyond the draft at other ways that the Eagles could still improve their team despite a pretty quiet free agency, Zach Berman made an interesting point, as he pointed out that back in the 2022 offseason, before the Birds' first Super Bowl run under the Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts regime, the Birds' roster was largely incomplete during the NFL's owners' meetings at this time that year, but Howie made a number of moves later in the offseason to acquire guys like A.J. Brown through a draft night trade, James Bradberry in a late free agency signing, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson in a trade right before the season. So, do I expect to see any huge moves like that A.J. Brown trade this year? No, definitely not, but what about a move like maybe signing someone like Justin Simmons late in free agency or something else along those lines? Like, that's definitely very possible. So, obviously we don't know what the Eagles are going to do, but again, based on Howie's comments, it sounds like plenty more exciting moves are coming, whether that's just through the NFL draft or in other ways. So again, we'll see what happens, and make sure you guys are subscribed so you don't miss anything, because I want to be covering it all. Speaking of which, one move that has been highly anticipated over these past few weeks, and I obviously talked about yesterday, is what's going to happen with Dallas Goedert. As of course, with the Eagles trying to clear cap space to extend other guys, Goedert's future in Philly has been put in question, with him having just 1 year left on his deal. And specifically, the questions are, will he be traded? Will the Eagles restructure his contract? Or will something else happen? I mean, there's a lot of different ways that this could go, and today, both Nick Sirianni and Jeffrey Lurie had press conferences at the NFL owners' meetings, where they talked about a lot, including the Goedert situation, and what they both said doesn't exactly give me a lot of confidence that Goedert's going to be back.
You want Dallas Goedert back?
I'm sorry?
Do you want Dallas Goedert back?
Right now, he's on our football team, and obviously Dallas Goedert has meant a lot to us. And we'll see how that plays out. He's a heck of a football player, heck of a leader, and I want to be able to have back as many guys as you possibly can. But that is not the reality of the NFL. We got a lot of so we'll see what happens and how that happens, but. Of course, you want everyone back.
It's hard for me because I'm so, I think really obsessed with the team, the culture, getting to know the players. I take them all out to dinner from time to time. This is not a distant relationship. And so whether it's C.J. Gardner-Johnson or it's Dallas or it's Milt Williams or whoever it is, we got to do what we think is best for the franchise in terms of winning big. No different than Zach Ertz. That was, it's the way it is. You've got to balance it all out, and the one thing is we got to do what we think is best in terms of roster construction, planning, and winning big.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. Sirianni certainly sounded like he was preparing for the possibility that Goedert isn't going to be here next season, while Lurie was kind of talking like a trade was pretty much imminent. So, obviously we'll have to wait and see what happens. Again, I'm still hoping for a one-year restructure, but a trade is looking very, very possible at this point. And another update today from Eagles reporter Derek Gunn only confirmed that as he said, quote, "There's no doubt the Eagles want Dallas Goedert back this season, but they're hoping to reduce his financial number. Howie's the best at moving money to make things work, but in this case, if the two sides can't come to an agreement, the Birds will find a trade partner." So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I've been saying all along. Like, I'm sure the Eagles want Goedert back, I'm sure he wants to be back, but at the end of the day, they just have to be able to come to an agreement on a reworked deal to make the money work. And if they can't do that, then a trade is going to happen. So again, I'm holding out hope for a restructure, but what do you guys think is going to happen? Moving on though, Sirianni also talked about a lot more in his press conference, including some of the quote-unquote holes at the safety and right guard positions, where he says that the Eagles still have time to add guys, and they also have a couple internal options that they like to be starters at those positions, i.e. Sidney Brown and Tyler Steen. Plus, Sirianni also mentioned guys like Nolan Smith, Cooper DeJean, Zach Bond, Quinyon Mitchell, Reed Blankenship, Jalen Carter, and Jordan Davis, all as potential options to step up more as leaders on defense with Brandon Graham and Darius Slay now gone. And then on top of that, Nick also talked about a lot of the new faces that the Birds brought in during free agency, and while he seems pretty excited about all of them, one guy in particular definitely stands out.
Again, I feel like Howie's done such a good job of adding depth. I love these new guys that we got in here. I'm like beyond excited about the, Avery Williams, Ojulari, Uche. I'm beyond excited. The offensive line additions that we made. And I don't want to miss somebody. Like all these guys, like every single one of these guys we brought in, the tight ends, Granson and Bryant, like AJ Dillon, like I'm beyond excited about the opportunity that these guys have and the talent that these guys have. Man, there's some special guys there. Like again, I can't say enough about Avery Williams and just what I think of him and the things that we could do with him and what he's going to bring to this football team. But obviously the things that he brings in special teams is huge. Again, I'm excited about all that he can bring with the versatility he has offensively, offensively, and all the things that he can do. Again, just my interaction with him was top notch, and I'm really excited to start working with him.
Yeah, so again, Sirianni seems excited about all the guys, but return man Avery Williams really stood out there, as Sirianni raved about his ability not just as a special teams player, but also as a potential offensive weapon as well. So it'll be interesting to see how the Eagles use him, assuming he does make the roster. I mean, I honestly don't really know what to expect from him, but again, it does seem like Sirianni is pretty high on him, so I'm excited to see what he can do. Speaking of which, the NFL just actually made a big rule change today regarding kickoffs, as touchbacks will now come all the way out to the 35-yard line. So we're definitely going to see a lot more returns this year than we did last year, because obviously no team wants their opponent starting at the 35-yard line. But moving on, we also got another huge rule change, this one which I'm a pretty big fan of, as our Philadelphia Eagles had made a proposal to change the regular season overtime rules so that each team has a possession, and that rule passed 32-0 during the vote this morning. So again, I love this because I've always felt that it makes a lot more sense to give each team a chance to possess the ball in overtime. Now, the one drawback I can think of is that it could possibly result in more ties, which that's never fun, but we don't know that for sure, and overall, I still definitely like the rule change. But now, to get into what we've all been waiting for, we've got some big news on the Eagles tush push, as the vote on whether to ban it or not was supposed to be today. However, once the NFL realized that they weren't actually going to have enough votes to ban the play, with reports saying that only 16 teams wanted to ban it, so that's 8 short of the required 24, the NFL has now decided to table the discussion and revisit the issue in May and maybe vote on it then. So, I mean, I guess the good news is that at least the play is not banned and the brotherly shove is going to live on for now. However, this whole thing's annoying. Like, it's clear at this point that the NFL wants this play banned, and the reason they tabled the discussion instead of just voting on it now is to buy more time to sway some of the voters so that they can eventually get this play banned. And look, I mean, you guys already know how I feel about this. I think this whole thing is soft because there's just not any legit reason to ban this play. I mean, the health and safety stuff is a bunch of hypothetical BS. The quote, "it's not a football play" conversation is just pure coping. And at the end of the day, I think it just comes down to the fact that teams are mad that they can't stop this play and they can't do it as good as the Eagles can. And that's exactly what Lane Johnson said this morning as he weighed in saying, quote, "They hate us because they ain't us." And I think that's the perfect way of putting it. So hopefully it doesn't get banned, but this thing's definitely not over and the league's fighting hard for it. So we'll see what happens. And whenever that final decision does come, you guys know that I'm going to be covering it here, as well as all the other Eagles news coming throughout this entire offseason. So if you don't want to miss any of that, then make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. That way you're notified instantly when I upload a video or go live. And also, while you're at it, again, make sure you drop a like on this video to show some support, because it really does help me out a ton. See if we can get to at least 600 likes today. And also, while you're at it, leave a comment down below just regarding anything that I talked about in this video. What are some other moves you think the Eagles could make? Do you think Dallas Goedert's going to get traded? Again, I want to hear all your thoughts down in the comments. And also, if you want to watch another Eagles video, you can check this one out right here. And now with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.